Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vital MX. Today we are taking an inside look at Justin BamBam Barcia's Troy Lee Designs RedBull Factory GasGas Racing MC450F. This one's a little bit of an interesting one because of the difference between what Barcia is racing and what the GasGas brethren brands, the Husqvarna and KTMs, are racing. So we've seen, of course, this year that, Cooper Webb, Malcolm Stewart, the main, everybody at Factory KTM, everybody Factory Husky, it's on the 450s, are all on a new platform. Justin Barcia, on the other hand, along with the two 250 riders at the Factory GasGas effort through Troy Designs, are actually on the outgoing platform, or as the KTM group likes to say, the current platform. They call this the current platform, and they call the new bike the new platform. But no, it is kind of the outgoing model. GasGas is supposed to represent the KTM group's cheaper, funner brand. So for them, they're gonna leave this brand kind of on the outgoing platform for another year and a half. It's gonna be more inexpensive when we hit this next production model year, when everybody's going to the new bike and this one's on the current platform, which I say all that, it sounds like a disadvantage, right? Like Barcia and the guys on the team must be bummed, but from everything we've heard and kind of overheard from talking to the riders and the mechanics on the team, they have a very opposite look at it. They're very excited to be on this platform because it's proven. Cooper Webb won the Supercross title last year on this bike. They've won GP World Championships on this bike, MX2 World titles on their 250s, and the new bike is a lot different. And as we're seeing with these early rounds this year, is the guys on the new bike aren't exactly as dialed in as they thought they were, where Barcia and the guys are on this old platform. They know everything about it. With that, they inherited a lot of parts, just a lot of excess. So this team, this three-man team this year, just has all the resources they need to get it done. So as we usually talk about with anything kind of related to the GasGas program, KTM Huskies, the engine for this bike is fully taken care of by Factory Services, the in-house program inside the race shop that deals with whether pretty much it's anything, off-road, motocross, supercross, all these engines go through them. They have a technician assigned directly to this team that takes care of everything inside this engine for Barcia, and everything really inside the engine is sourced directly from the Factory GasGas program from Austria, whether it's the piston, the cam spec, all those things. Really the only outside parts we see or outside components is the clutch is provided by Hinson. They do have the options of all the different billet parts that KTM makes. They can also mix it with some of the production parts to try to get the exact feel that the guys are looking for. The exhaust system is provided by Akrapovic, and it is specific for this application. This is typically not the system that you can buy. They have developed something specific for the Supercross package, whether that's the head pipe bend, the diameter, the core size in the can. All of it has been developed specifically for this engine. As much time and effort has gone into this over the years that this one has been in service. The cam spec, from what we've heard with KTM, is typically standard. They just redegree the production cam from what we're aware. They do have some options, but it doesn't sound like anything goes too far away or ventures too far from the production cam. The piston does come from CP, albeit to their race specs. Again, this is a company that the KTM group has part ownership in. The transmission components, the crank, the rod are all through Pankel. Again, the bike already comes stock with variations of these parts, but they do have a few options, whether it's a little bit of the crank weight or the style rod they're running. But again, none of it really ventures far away from the standard bike. They also do have the option, if they want transmission, they can run the standard 5-speed. They can run a 4-speed if they wanted to. There is a rule that allows you to basically put in a dummy gear. They can change around the ratios. Most modern 450s we see haven't ventured too far from the production transmissions. They've gotten dialed in so much. We do see them sometimes run a longer first gear for the guys in the 450 class. If they need to triple something right out of a corner in first, it doesn't just run out right in the transition. It has just enough length to get them out over the jump. We all know that Barcia is a bit of a rever, but it seems like from what we've heard, he does really like the character of this Factory GasGas engine. The production GasGas bike is already very broad. It's already very linear. They're able to, again, bump up compression, change the cam a little bit. They're able to get a little bit more power in different areas, but the team has always been really focused on rideable character, which seems to really bode well for Justin, who just likes to just hang it out. Having a bike that maybe doesn't get away from him quite as easily definitely seems to work in his favor with his very aggressive riding style. Now, the chassis is where things get a little bit interesting with this bike. Again, this is on the old platform, and from what we've seen as of late, Barcia has reverted to the frame that Webb was using towards the end of outdoor last year, which is not heavily braced. We used to see this very large cross member in the front of the frame. There was shock tower bracing, other things we can't see as easily by the naked eye. And from what we've seen, Barcia has reverted to what some might consider a much older variation of the frame before the bracing ever came into play, or, you know, once again, the one that we saw Webb run towards the end of outdoors last year. That frame forever was made for Supercross, and even though we're in Supercross season, there must be something about the non-braced version that Justin likes more, whether that's the front end feel, comfort, something there that he seems to be happier with. Again, as with all the racing programs we see under this umbrella, the suspension is handled by WP's in-house program. They have a service center right next to the race shop here in Marietta, California. Each team has their own technician. There is one assigned directly to the team. They also have a sub-helper on the team. Hunter Falk, that used to be one of the team mechanics, has kind of transitioned into a suspension role with the team, and he's working with their guy Adam to help out between the 250s and the 450s. Justin, of course, gets all his own testing time. He does utilize the 52mm all aluminum fork that we see very popular with these programs. WP does utilize this all aluminum fork, meaning both the lower and upper tube are aluminum. Even though they are of different dimensions, part of their theory behind this is, yes, by going aluminum on both ends, they're able to get a light fork in such a large diameter, but they're also able to have two similar materials that have somewhat similar flex characteristics, more than having one tube be of a completely different material. So your lower to upper tube, they're trying to get them to, I guess, flex at a more consistent rate. It is still going to be, again, very different depending on the tapers and the size here. And again, when we say 52mm, we are not talking about the upper tube. Some people misconstrued that. Whenever a fork size is named off, it is the lower slider tube, because that size is consistent. The upper tubes change wildly, where the lower triple clamp clamps the upper fork tube, and where the upper triple clamp clamps it are two totally different diameters. They are not consistent. So again, when we say 52, we're talking about the lower tube on this bike. It is a cone valve system, meaning the mid valve on the damping rod has been replaced by a cone that slides in and out of a cone orifice that creates friction and damping character. The team does have the option between multiple angles of cones along with a variable rate spring behind it to control that damping character, or they can also run a standard mid-speed valve piston with shim stacks on it if they would like to. As far as we're aware at the moment, Justin is just completely on spring with no assist, but again, they have the option and the ability to test it when they want to. Again, the team does work with WP, but they have a suspension guy that they have picked specifically for this job with Adam. They do have some of their own autonomy to try different linkage ratios, different bell cranks that they play with. We believe they might be on a little bit different spec than what we saw with KTM last year, again, to kind of a direction they were looking for. They have the option between a split and non-split version of the clamp. They are running the split version at the moment. Bar mounts, they have the option between solid, a PHDS style. Barcia is on a solid bar mount at the moment, utilizing Renthal bars, sprockets, grip. The wheel package on this bike at most rounds we see is a kite hub with a DID rim. Also, we're utilizing DID chains. When we did shoot the bike at this round though, however, it did have a Method branded wheel on it. Method is working with DID for this project. We're not really sure if down the road you'll see Method actually sell their own rim, or if they're just going to continue to work with DID for these branded wheels. Method's been a longtime sponsor of the Troy Lee Designs program and all their iterations. So that's why we see him kind of getting this extra bit of love and branding on the bikes that we're going to see pop up at a few select rounds here and there this year. Lastly, the team does work with Dunlop. Again, as a factory team at this level, they do have the ability to test with Dunlop, try specs, try different compounds and things to suit their overall package and what setup they are chasing for their rider. One other interesting note with the TLD program is they do use ETS fuel, something again we see common amongst this OEM group across all the race teams. ETS is a fuel brand that KTM likes to work with all the racing programs. The blends have been kind of developed around their engine package, what they're looking for, and what else makes them unique is that the fuel, from what we've heard, is very stable at high heat, meaning between Supercross and outdoors, we do not see them changing blends of fuel and maybe giving up a little bit of power to go to a high temp blend that is able to handle the heat and keep from boiling. They're able to stay on the same fuel all year long and just kind of go off that for their mapping and their engine package. This has been our inside look at Justin Barcia's Troy Lee Designs Red Bull GasGas Factory Racing MC450F. If you like this feature, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, make sure you don't miss any more of these. If you like this type of inside looks at bikes and what's new, make sure you check out our website, vitalmx.com. Every race weekend, we have a feature called Pit Bits. We run through what's new, helmets, gear, bikes, what guys are changing, all that good stuff is in there. And thanks for watching.